Who remembers where they were when the shot was made? I'm sure some of you may be too young to remember, but I'm sure some of you have heard of it. It's crazy to me that you can Google the shot, and the first thing that comes up is a YouTube clip replaying something that happened over 20 years ago. The shot was, of course, the game winner in the 1998 NBA Finals between the Chicago Bulls and the Utah Jazz by Michael Jordan. As a boy, I had one dream, and that was to be a professional basketball player. This was because of one man and one man only, arguably one of the most famous people of all time, Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is such an inspiration to so many people of every demographic. He put his mind to something and he did it. He once said, I've failed over and over and over in my life, and that is why I succeed. I feel like every person can learn something from an athlete like Michael. You must expect great things of yourself before you can do them, is another thing he said. On the court, Jordan was king. He left a lasting impact on the game of basketball. Off the court, he did a lot of things that people often don't remember him for. Jordan was king on the court. Elgin Baylor, a former basketball player, coach, and team executive, once said, if you look up the definition of greatness in the dictionary, it will say Michael Jordan. Jordan's individual accolades and accomplishments include 6 NBA Finals, Most Valuable Player awards, 10 scoring titles, 5 MVP awards, 10 All-NBA First Team designations, 9 All-Defensive First Team honors, 14 NBA All-Star Game selections, 3 All-Star Game MVP awards, 3 steal titles, and the 1988 NBA Defensive Player of the Year award. He holds the NBA record for the highest career regular season scoring average and the highest career scoring average. All of these great accomplishments led the way for what he did to the sports world and the game of basketball. Jordan had a lasting impact on basketball. Dan Harriman, a writer for the Livestrong website, wrote that his contributions on and off the court helped catapult the popularity of basketball to a new level. Basketball now has the attention of the world. Jordan and his trademark acrobatics are today an American icon and brand. I think that every generation really has their own thumbprint. But if you look at Michael's influence, you still see the shaved heads on the court, still see people playing with a great deal of flair, says Jordan Brand Vice President Howard White. I think the stamp obviously went beyond his culture, and there's a thing that says, like Michael Jordan, or the Michael Jordan of whatever it is, the NBA, NASCAR, hockey, they still compare people to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan's impact doesn't stop with just basketball. Off the court, Michael Jordan did and still does a lot of good work that people don't often remember him for. Joe Greenberg, an ESPN writer, wrote, Jordan has given more money to charitable causes and met with more sick kids than we'll ever know. There are far too many charitable donations to list. I encourage you, look up some of the work that Jordan has done and see for yourself. A few things that I really feel inspired by and appreciate that he has done are these. He has served as the ambassador to a Make-A-Wish Foundation as chief ambassador since 2008. He does a lot of work in Chicago. He's worked to stop violence in Chicago through a number of Chicago youth programs, such as Chicago Scholars, Children's Literacy Initiative, After School Matters, and many more. After the 9/11 attacks in New York, he donated his entire 2001-2002 Washington Wizards NBA salary to 9/11 charities, going to the families of the victims. All of this charitable, inspiring work is part of the Michael Jordan legacy that will be left behind. I'm 29 years old and I'm working to get a college degree. I'm still being inspired by some of the things that Michael Jordan has said and some of his quotes almost 20 years after his retirement. So I ask that you remember these words that he said. If you're trying to achieve something, there will always be roadblocks. I've had them, everyone has them. But obstacles don't have to stop you. If you run into a wall, don't turn around and give up. Figure out how to climb it, or go through it, or work around it. That's why I'm inspired by Michael Jordan. Thank you for listening.